John Wick Chapter 4 is out this weekend, so that means it is time to rank all the John Wick movies from worst to best. Let's go ahead and get it. Yo! What's going on, everybody? My name is Kevin, and on this channel I do movie reviews and movie rankings. But before I get to the final rating, I go ahead and give a little sermon on how a plot thing or character can go ahead and relate to our Christian lives. And sometimes we just have fun and do rankings. Today is one of those days where we just have fun, and we are gonna rank the entire John Wick franchise from worst to best. And before we go ahead and get started in this ranking, I have to say, every one of these movies is fantastic. So there is no real worst movie in this franchise. They're all really good. They're all extreme action movies. All the positives are the same. They all have great fight choreography. They all have great cinematography. They're done really well. These are the best modern action films, and it's probably the most consistent action franchise that we've had. I mean, before that it was Lethal Weapon, which I still love all the Lethal Weapon movies, but the John Wicks are just on a more consistent level. They're just better movies. They're more better movies. More of them are better. You know, whatever. You know what I mean. Anyway, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into my ranking. And coming in last place at number 4 is actually John Wick 3, or John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum rather. And again, this movie was really good. All the action set pieces are phenomenal. Where I feel like it fell off for me is it took the lore a little bit too far. Where you have the elder who sits above the high table and he's just living out in the desert for whatever reason. And it just, that kind of took it away from me. There was no real villain in the movie, and the goal wasn't really spelled out for you. There was no real clear motive. It was just John Wick versus this entire world of assassins, and that's kind of just how it is the entire movie. The ending didn't really satisfy me. It left you on a cliffhanger and it made you ready to see it, but it wasn't really as satisfying. It was just John Wick versus this world of assassins. And if you're looking for an awesome action movie, it was great. I walked out of the theater pleased. Like I said, I really enjoy all of these movies. But in this amazing action franchise, John Wick Chapter 3 comes in 4th place. I need to stop putting up fingers, man. I messed that way up. Coming in 3rd place for me is John Wick Chapter 2. What they really did well in this movie is they didn't just try to go right back to the same well, right? Like in Die Hard 2, they literally had the same thing happen to John McClane twice, and they even acknowledge it in the movie. But they didn't try to do that in John Wick Chapter 2. They didn't have him go on another revenge story. They really began to build the world that was introduced in the first John Wick in John Wick Chapter 2. You find out about markers and blood oaths and all these other things, and the high table that runs this world of assassins, and how deep it really starts to go. And John Wick Chapter 2 did a really phenomenal job at that. You had an awesome villain, you had some awesome fight scenes with guys like Common and other more trained assassins. It's not just the mobsters that John Wick had to fight in the first one. He's taking on top of the top assassins just like him. And I thought it worked really well. I really enjoyed John Wick 2, just not as much as the other two on the list. Coming in at number 2 for me is John Wick Chapter 4, The New Kid on the Block. This is probably gonna be the John Wick that I rewatch the most. And again, these movies are neck and neck, because the process of elimination, you know what number 1 is. These movies are neck and neck. And what I really loved about John Wick Chapter 4 is it takes everything that's great about the entire franchise and ramps it up. And they finally get back to the emotional heart, the emotional center of the story. And they make you remember why you loved John Wick in that first movie and why you felt so much for him, not just the unstoppable killing machine that he is. So they really did a good job of that. The side characters were amazing. The action was amazing. It was a phenomenal movie, and I don't want to give too many spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the ending was very, very satisfying for me. And wherever the franchise goes from here, I'm satisfied with this story and what happened. So coming in 2nd place for me is John Wick Chapter 4. And it's probably going to be the one that I rewatched the most. I really like this movie. And taking our number 1 spot for me is the original John Wick. I remember my dad was working at a state at the time, and he called me and my brother and said, stop whatever you're doing right now and go rent John Wick. And we did, and we were blown away at how good that movie was. No one had any idea what this movie was gonna blow up into. It had such a very simple premise. Keanu Reeves is taking revenge on people for killing his dog. But they really expand on it, and by the time that scene happens, you feel for John Wick and your heart is breaking. And then the scene where they end up saying who he really was.
John is a man of focus, commitment, sheer will. Something you know very little about.
And what John Wick is about, and you're like, oh snap, this dude's about to go crazy. And then he does. That first scene where they raid his home, and you're like, oh man, John Wick is on another level. This first movie was fantastic, and it was much more grounded, and everything else from John Wick Chapter 2 on, they expand the lore, they expand the world, but here it's a very grounded story. It's really him just taking revenge on this Russian mob family. And they give you little hints of the world. Like that's when you start to see the, tattooed chicks with the, the pinups style where they're making the phone calls, or isn't that in Chapter 2? That might be in Chapter 2. Either way, you get introduced to the Continental, you get introduced to the gold coins, you get introduced to the rules of, no business being able to be conducted on Continental grounds and what happens if you break those rules. And that everyone knows John Wick. They know there's something about this guy who left this lifestyle behind, and anyone who's in the world knows, respects, and even fears John Wick. That's why they call him Baba Yaga. This movie was just fantastic, man. I absolutely love the first John Wick, so that comes in at number 1. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Like I said, I just wanted to have fun, man. We say as Christians there's no good entertainment. Let's start making our own good entertainment. So please let me know the ranking of your top 4 John Wick movies. Top 4, there's only 4. Let me know your ranking of all 4 John Wick movies down in the comment section below. What is your favorite one? What is your favorite side character from all the John Wick films, man? And let me know, are you excited for this new movie if you haven't seen it? And when are you gonna go see it? Go do it soon, man. Go support this movie in the theaters. We need to save the movie theater industry. And yeah, like, share, and subscribe. Let's get this stuff out there. So remember, I love you, Jesus loves you. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. See you guys.